At present moment, it's difficult to say whether or not he has a particular strategy or plan with regard to Ukraine. Well, what we see that President Trump is trying to have good relations with Russia to entice Putin to negotiating table, but so far without any success, because Putin has already several times has rejected his ceasefire proposals, while Ukraine agreed to this without any conditions.
Oleksandr Merezhko has, I think, joined us, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Ukrainian Parliament. Hello to you, Oleksandr. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure and honor to participate in your programs.
Thank you for joining us. So it does seem we are now pretty much at the point of your country agreeing a deal with America on the extraction of mineral reserves in Ukraine. What are your thoughts on that? Is that going to be a big step forward? And is it going to count for very much when it comes to protecting Ukraine against Russia?
Well, first of all, the very idea to me looks interesting, at least, and worth being discussed, especially by the Ukrainian Parliament, the Verkhovna Rada, because it might be viewed as a sort of economic guarantee of our security. But of course, you know, it's not enough, because we should view the issue of security from the perspective of Putin's mind. What can really deter him? And unfortunately, this deal doesn't have this capability, this decisive deterrent effect upon Putin.
All right. But you feel the president of Ukraine will be willing to sign this deal, even though it's not enough to guarantee Ukraine's security. So what would be the value of it?
The value of it is that hopefully, on the basis of mutual benefits, this will attract American investments and American capital into our economy, especially when it comes to reconstruction, rebuilding in our economy. So it might be viewed as an incentive for American firms to come and to participate in the development of our natural resources.
Okay, so to bring in, as it were, American economic involvement. But the deal has been, as it's been reported, described as being incredibly one-sided, unfair, even larceny on the American side. Is that not your view, Oleksandr?
Well, the truth is that I haven't seen yet the final text, and I understand that now we're talking about Memorandum of Understanding, which is not international treaty, and as such, it's not subject to ratification by the Parliament. But hopefully a full-fledged international treaty will be elaborated, will be developed later on, and on the basis of details of this treaty, we'll be deciding whether or not to ratify it in our parliament. Okay,
so the process moves on, but not over the line. And meanwhile, President Zelensky said the other day that he felt work was needed, still needed, on President Trump's understanding of Ukraine and the cause of Ukraine. Do you see any sign that President Trump has learned anything about the need to defend Ukraine from Vladimir Putin's Russia?
Well, I hope that President Trump will come to this conclusion. At present moment, it's difficult to say whether or not he has a particular strategy or plan with regard to Ukraine. Well, what we see that President Trump is trying to have good relations with Russia to entice Putin to negotiating table, but so far without any success, because Putin has already several times has rejected his ceasefire proposals, while Ukraine agreed to this without any conditions.
I mean, I was talking to a former American ambassador to Ukraine just a very short while ago on the program. He seemed to believe that it's possible that President Trump would finally move in a more decisive way and provide Ukraine with a significant increase in its arms to fight the war in your country against the Russian invasion. That would obviously be your hope, but there's been no sign of that so far, really. You're still being supplied, but we haven't seen a big escalation in that flow of weapons.
Well, for us, we need American help, especially missiles and Patriot systems, first of all, for our air defense, to defend our cities and to protect our civilian population. Without American missiles like Patriots, it will be very hard, of course, and there will be lots of civilian casualties. At the same time, we have developed, during the last 3 years of war, we have developed our own military industrial capabilities, and 40% of the weapons are being produced now in Ukraine. And of course, we rely heavily on the support military assistance of our European allies, including the UK, of course.
All right, Oleksandr Merezhko, as always, thank you so much for your thoughts on the programme this afternoon. That's Oleksandr Merezhko, the chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee at the Ukrainian Parliament.
I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems. One of the things we're looking at with President Zelensky is having the security of their assets. They have assets underground, rare earth and other things, but primarily rare earth. We had a very good talk with, people didn't really know what President Putin's thoughts were, but I think I can say with great confidence he wants to see it ended also. That's good. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
And we are thankful. I said thanks.
You haven't been alone.
Cabinet.
You haven't been alone. We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. We had a meeting today, as you know, with President Zelensky, and I would say it didn't work out exactly great from his standpoint. I think he very much overplayed his hand. We're looking for peace. We're not looking for somebody that's going to sign up a strong power and then not make peace because they feel emboldened.
Not even 1 month has passed since the agreement was made, but Russia has already violated this agreement over 30 times, meaning more than once a day, probably, if you take it on average, with damaging our critical energy grid, our critical energy objects. So unfortunately, we can see these Russian violations, and we're sharing them with the United States and with other partners and with all relevant international organizations and institutions. We still abide as the Ukrainian state by this agreement with the United States.
The technical consultations between the teams from the Justice and Economy ministries will take place tomorrow in Washington. And I'm not in a position, to reveal any details because the meeting will only take place tomorrow. I will be able to comment tomorrow. But one thing I can confirm for sure that nothing in the agreement can be negotiated with Ukraine in a way that will undermine the existing commitments and obligations Ukraine has, including the financial ones within Ukraine facility, macro-financial assistance, IMF cooperation. This is something that is not subjected to any negotiating format, and having said that, it means that the appropriate adjustments has to be done into the format of the agreement later on.